of course, the team leader, Arthur, this individual speaks through Alex and answers questions. Incidentally, Alex, this Arthur, was a person who was introduced to us years before. And Alex had I never told him about Arthur because it was a random occurrence in the seance room, but Arthur came through Vicky and sent messages through Vicky, which we had validation from the table, knocking and rapping and moving. So Arthur introduced himself years before Alex even came into the circle. And then when the individual emerged out of Alex to speak, it was, of course, Arthur. And Alex had no knowledge of Arthur prior to that. So that was pretty wild.
This is amazing. Don't you think it's incredible?
Yeah, it really is mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Coming out of a circle at the end of the night, you're on about your regular business and you wonder yourself, wow, this stuff just happened. This stuff is going on, and you're off doing your normal everyday stuff.
Oh my word.
It is kind of
Alex, you had no inclination, not the slightest suspicion that he had these gifts before he started coming to your circle?
Well, he demonstrate. Well, of course, raising Alex, he did demonstrate some abilities, but it was not very pronounced at all. He didn't demonstrate a lot of clairaudience, any kind of clairsentience that he would feel things or anything like that. But there came a time in his life where it sort of just exploded. He came to circle. I had a notion. I met Bree. Okay, Bree's another new circle member. I met Bree. She had some mediumship experience, and I knew right away she'd be great for the circle because finding people for the circle is a very delicate process, and you want it to work out. So, and at the same time, I thought Alex might really enjoy being in the circle, and I kind of had an intuition about it. And I brought him and as well as Bree, and they both flourished in the circle. And Alex, his mediumship exploded quite dramatically and moved very quickly. And it was a little frightening, honestly. It frightened me because here, it's my son, and I feel very protective, and I don't want him exposed to things that would move too fast for him or would take him on a journey that he wasn't ready for. Because, when I entered into the world of mediumship, it was in 2007, right? I was older and I had a little bit more experience but when your children are involved, it's a whole other situation.
Yes, of course.
So I was a little and I'm still, I'm still very protective of what's going on, but nothing has happened in this iteration of the circle that has prompted me to be too, hesitant of his, involvement. So,
is he happy? He must be delighted with what's happening in his life. This is a real enrichment for just in his life, this experience. Yeah,
it's completely changed the way he sees himself, how he sees the world. He was always very open, and even though he was analytical, he was always a humanities kind of guy, but it has affected his life very deeply because they take control of his body. They take control of his body, and he was okay with that. He allowed it to happen. And a lot of people, that's a huge hurdle, right?
Oh, wow. Yes.
That's a huge hurdle. So he does energy work, in the circle. Not only does he do the trance work towards the end when Arthur comes through, but he also coordinates, some of the energy work that goes on. So if you talk to Sally or Vicky, sometimes during the seance, he will get up and he will move around the room, and he will do certain things. It's seemingly, and it's quite odd, really. I'm in the cabinet, so I don't see a lot of it. But some of the stuff that he does is seems like, from what Arthur says, it's attunement, right? So he is attuning the sitters to help facilitate the energy work of the group. So he's put his hands on the sitters, on their shoulders, on their head, and they reported feeling this energy just blasting through their bodies.
Wow.
And that's just the least of it, really. I've neglected to mention, before he went on to do the trance work, he was doing a lot of automatic writing. It really began with the automatic writing. He was prompted to do that. I told him, why don't you sit down and have them work that way? And so it progressed very quickly from automatic writing into the trance work, the trance speaking. I would recommend that for people if they felt like they were in a good space and they knew who they were working with, to work first in automatic writing and then move then from there into the trance speaking or wherever the development might take them. But that worked quite well for Alex.
Who was it? Does he know who he was channeling when he was doing automatic writing?
It was, so he has, it was probably his, yes, I'll say yes. It was an individual that works with him very closely on a day-to-day basis, and that individual's name is Samuels. So Samuels works with Alex on a day-to-day basis. He's the go-to guy. He's the guy who's with Alex quite a bit. Arthur comes through during the Sunday circle times, and then we'll speak through. He's really kind of the division leader. He's the manager. He's the guy who's working behind the scenes to do a lot of the work. So Arthur's a super busy guy. Samuels is the go-to guy for Alex. He communicates with him clairaudiently on a daily basis. So Alex's mediumship has grown quite a bit. So his clairaudience emerged, and he's communicating with Samuels. And Samuels, I've spoken with Samuels. Samuels is a really interesting guy. In fact, I prefer speaking with Samuels rather than Arthur. Samuels, yeah. Arthur is a guest. I think he was a former NASA scientist, or worked at NASA engineer.
Oh my goodness.
But Samuels, and so that's really the group. Our group, the Masters of Light, are a group of like-minded scientists, is what they are, really. Scientists, engineers. And they described their group as having, I think, somewhere on the order of over 1 million people. So it's not. So this isn't this team is one aspect of a greater collective over there on the other side that have devoted themselves to work with circles on this side. So I think that's a pretty commonplace thing where you have
extremely so. Yeah. They always work in huge collectives and really astonishing numbers of people there work together this way. It sometimes boggles the mind. We tend to think here, everybody's such an individual, but there they work in huge collectives.
Huge collectives, right. And they've given us some insight as to how, from their point of view, the afterlife works, right? And it kind of correlates with what we've already learned quite a bit. What really shocked me, though, was when Samuels and Arthur, they talked about, and I didn't know this, or it came to a shock to me, that there's an issue on the other side with communication in terms of groups communicating with each other. So someone's energetic expression, right, as they collect themselves into these spheres or groups or whatever you want to call it, they are sometimes incompatible with other groups. They're really not able to. So if you die, you're on the other side. You can't just commune with whoever you want, right? You are in a space, and that space might not be accessible, and you might not be able to access other spaces necessarily. At least from the point of view of Arthur and Samuels, from where they're at. So their landscapes are vast, but there are some serious obstacles to communication through these various spheres that exist over there.
Yeah, I don't fully understand that either. But here you are working with scientists, and it may well be that that they all are scientists on some level, and that may be necessary to be in their clique to some degree. And I guess I just don't, there's a lot I don't still understand. Part of what's fun about doing this work is that there is so much to try to understand. It's not cut and dried by any to any extent. There's so much we really still don't know.
For sure. But, it's like the more you learn, it's like the old axiom or phrase or whatever it is. It's like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything at all.
Really? Yes. The more you learn, the more you really need to learn more. That's right. Oh, yeah, it's so amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know why your circle has been so persistent? Because a lot of times they fall apart. What's the glue that's held yours together?
I would say the glue that's held us together not only is our determination, but the fact that Craig has had an open space to make this happen. He has been so generous with setting it up, being, even he hasn't been sitting with us for a little bit because of COVID. He was, he's waiting for the numbers to drop in the county that he lives. And I, that's completely understandable. But despite that, he has everything ready for us. The room is all set up. The camera's all set up. We record the seance sittings. He will watch them afterwards and make note of things in the progress. So even not sitting with us, he's circle leader. So I would say Craig is absolutely the number one reason why. His persistence, his determination to see something evolve out of something that was put together, many years ago, and the fact that he helps us, keep going. I mean, like you said, you could join a circle and it just falls apart, and it falls apart because the center won't hold. It's like the Yeats poem, the center cannot hold. Things fall apart. So, but he is the center. And since he is strong with his determination, we all are. We honor his work, and I would say that would be the reason. His generosity and his persistence.
Yeah, he certainly is persistent. Wow, no, that's really true. Now, you keep mentioning your cabinet. Now, a lot of people are wondering, what is that all about? Talk about that.
Well, the cabinet is not necessary, but it is something that a lot of people have used to help concentrate the development. And I think, people have made the argument that's not necessary. It is definitely necessary for us. So I sit in the cabinet. It's there's a curtain. It's a wooden box, and you get inside it. You pull the curtains closed, and you sit in this nice super comfy chair. Then I like to remind everybody I'm sitting in the comfy chair, and they're sitting in these not so comfy chairs. So it's pretty a sweet deal for me. So I sit and they tease me endlessly about it.
Because you're a physical medium, right? You're developing as a physical medium.
Yeah, exactly. So in that. For that, you really would like to get a concentrated dose of that energy, right, that they're going to use to help tune you, or however it is that they're doing it. So they essentially have this confined space, this cabinet, and they have, I believe, some kind of apparatus, energetic apparatus on the other side that they use to help facilitate the work. They use, contrary to some people's ideas, perhaps, but they do use a lot of technology. There's a lot of technology on the other side that they utilize. It's just beyond our understanding. So they utilize this technology, and they will change. They change the physical medium on a molecular level. They change everybody in the circle to their gifts, right? But the physical medium they're going to change to help facilitate and build up this energy, and they essentially pump energy into the physical medium in such a way that is really beyond our physics and understanding. So you can kind of see it as like a reservoir of energy that's building and building and building and building. And along with that, they're changing us physiologically, they're changing us energetically. And so when they're able to do the work, the person is tuned properly. The old way they would call them chemists. The chemists are doing the work. They're changing you. The chemists are changing you. But it is this technology